All right, thanks very much. We'll go ahead and get started, and Senator, feel free to butt in anytime you have any questions. Chair Warren, Vice Chair Wilburn, and Senator Haley ranking. On 2026, when we met the other day, earlier in the day, frankly, I had had a conversation with the reviser about another bill that we were looking at putting in another package. And she had pointed out that this would amount to a double, effectively a double amendment of current statute, and that if placed in the other package, they would end up having to have this statute published twice in the statute books, with a footnote that the bills amended the law twice. It becomes something of a practitioner issue in the end, having to reconcile the two bills. And then she reminded me after we were done that, oops, you seem to have not done that. Was that intentional? And it was not intentional. I think we should always exercise caution not to make the statutory scheme any more complex than it already is for people in the field that we expect to follow these laws. So because of that, I would ask leave of the Senate to reopen consideration on House Bill 2026 for the limited purpose of considering adding House Bill 2128, which relates to the transfer of jurisdiction and supervision of offenders that are in Senate Bill 123 treatment programs. I would ask for the Senate to consider allowing us to do so to assure that we don't overly complicate the statutory scheme.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the thoughts towards more efficiency and clarity in our statutes for practitioners. If we could take a short recess or standing at ease to confer for a moment, that would be appreciated. You know, we prefer not to have to reopen things, so want to make sure that there's a good, solid reason if that's something we're going to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration. Ready to proceed?
We are. And we, on behalf of the Senate, will agree to reopen the conference committee report on HB 2026 to add, at the request of the House, HB 2128.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So just for purposes of clarity, 2026 then would add the language of House Bill 2191, 2374, Senate Bill 4, and House Bill 2128, and that would be the agreement?
It would, yes.
Very well. We're good with that. You're good with that. We will have the reviser draft the conference committee report. Right.
Clarification. So that is SB4 as passed by the Senate, not as we dealt with it in the House.
Correct. Yes. Senate Bill 4 would have been House Bill 2027 in the House. It died below the line before turnaround. Senate Bill 4 was brought up in Judiciary and worked, but was not. It remains below the line, never brought up to general order. So we'll take the Senate's position on that. We have no other House position that's formally articulated. Good enough? All right, we're good. We'll have that one drawn up. Shall we move on? I think we move on with some dispatch and get everybody out of here on time. I think we can clean up our work if you're ready to do that. Shouldn't take long. We're going to move on to House Bill 2077. That would be the extension of the Reform Commission. Natalie, I'm going to try to just run through this quickly, and then you can correct if I make an error in any of the statements on this. It is my understanding that House Bill 2077, Reform Commission extension, that as to the contents of that particular bill, just with respect to that topic, that the Senate made no amendments to that subject matter, but did amend into the bill House Bill 2369, which was the closed case task force, and that there were no amendments to that bill. It was simply amended into 2077, and that the contents of 2082, the crime victim compensation change with respect to mental health services being provided for victims who were minors at the time of their victimization, to seek and receive mental health support services and treatment, that the Senate changed the language in that House bill to essentially provide that there would be a 10-year, basically, statute of limitations for that claim to be made, which would cap it at age 28 if the victim came forward and then sought services. Natalie, is that pretty much it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll let Jason Thompson, since he staffs the Senate Judiciary side, speak to the amendments that were made by the Senate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Thompson with the Revisor's Office. You're correct that the Senate added House Bill 2369. There were a couple of changes made to that, and we noted those on the chart, mainly to rename the commission, but also to make sure that the other amendments that the House made on that underlying bill were included as well. The CODIS administrator designee, for example, staff assistants, but the main change the Senate made was to rename it the Alvin Sykes Cold Case DNA Task Force. And that was brought by Senator Haley, so he could speak to that further if needed. And then, yes, if you want to talk about 2082, the committee amendments were to essentially extend the board's statute of limitations. It's not quite that, but it operates like that, so that you could make those claims a little bit longer away from the time when you became a victim and be able to get compensation for mental health counseling.
Thank you for that. So I believe the House would like to offer the Senate on 2077 that we accept the Senate's position with respect to 2077, including amending the closed case task force extension as adopted by the Senate. And we would ask to add House Bill 2082, which relates to the crime victims compensation changes for mental health services for those victimized as a minor with delayed access to, provide for delayed access to mental health services.
Thank you. That's the House offer then?
That would be it.
All right, thank you. If we could stand at ease for a moment, that would be appreciated. Okay, the Senate will agree to the House offer on House Bill 2077 to add in the contents of House Bill 2082 as amended by the Senate Judiciary Committee.
That's great. That is correct. Very well. We will have the reviser go ahead and draft a conference committee report on 2077 consistent with that. Make sure I'm not getting any further instruction. No? Oh.
Right, and make sure 2077 as amended by the Senate as well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and we really do need to get to caucus if we want to.
I think we can race. Can we?
All right, let's race.
Okay, so 2121, we'll move on to that. Definition of absconding, you added mistreatment of dependent adult elders as found in House Bill 2153, and delivery of person arrested on bond or bail agents as pursuant to House Bill 2076. I don't believe there are any amendments by the Senate to either of those two that were added to our definition of absconding. We would offer to add House Bill 2275, which is guidance to the Department of Corrections regarding parole supervision regulations and standards for parole supervision, that the Secretary be required to adopt those, and add the provisions of House Bill 2192. That would be the provision allowing court service officers and community corrections officers to issue certifications of identification for offenders in order to allow them to make application for a driver's license. Any correction from revisers on my statement about these bills?
Mr. Chairman, Jason Thompson with the revisor. No, all accurate.
Thank you, sir.
And did you note that both of those bills passed the House 124-0?
Yes, they did.
Question for the revisor. Did 2275 and 2192, who were those brought to committee by? Who sponsored those?
Madam Chair, Jason Thompson again. It looks like 2275. Let's see, it came from the Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice, I believe. I don't see an indication on the website like normal. Maybe Chairman Jennings can recall. And then the 2192 is one from last year, and I think is one of those joint recommendations from the Criminal Justice Reform Commission, Sentencing Commission, et cetera. And Chairman Jennings can correct me on either of those.
Yeah, I think you got it pretty much right. 2192 is Criminal Justice Reform Commission, Sentencing Commission joint recommendation, and 2275 was Criminal Justice Reform Commission and Council of State Governments and the work that they did with that commission.
Thank you. We'll take a brief moment, please. The Senate agrees to the House offer to add to House Bill 2121, House Bill 2275, and House Bill 2192.
Very well, thank you. We'll have the revisor draft conference committee reports consistent with the action of this conference committee. Hopefully this is the last time we are together for these purposes. Thank you so much for working with us and for your understanding of my error and allowing us to correct in a way that makes sense. I really do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We'll be adjourned then. Thank you.